It's an absolute disgrace. Unacceptable. The fact of the matter is Colorado came into this game 13-point favorites, okay, and got outscored by a 13-point underdog, 46-14 in the second half after being up 29-0. They're now 1-3 in the Pac-12. Their defense has allowed the second most yards per game at 473.7, Shannon, and the seventh most points per game at 35.9 in all of the entire FBS.
Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe went hard after the Colorado football team and Deion Sanders. They called the loss to Stanford an utter disgrace. But they're not wrong. Colorado was up by 29 points at the half, as you all know, and somehow managed to lose to Stanford and give up a ton of points, 46 points in the second half. That is truly unacceptable. I knew when I woke up Saturday morning that the fallout was going to be bad, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. You see, I saw mostly constructive criticism. I saw people talking about these kids are so undisciplined that they need to forget the papers and the headlines and get to working on fundamentals, tackling, being disciplined, not making mistakes, no penalties. I say it all the time in my other broadcast, don't beat yourself. Colorado Buffaloes found a way to beat themselves. 17 penalties for 129 yards. And Hall of Famer Shannon Sharpe, along with Stephen A. Smith, did a bit of damage on Deion Sanders and said your team was a disgrace, an absolute disgrace. But listen to what Deion Sanders said to his team right after the loss.
You're not going to be taken care of. You're not going to be looked after. You're not going to have the luxuries of all this. And you're going to have to go out there and get it on your own and work your butt off. Because ain't nobody going to give you nothing. I don't understand. I don't think you understand what this world consists of. What we just did today was pathetic. All the love that you received, all the love that we received, oh, you getting ready to see that flip. And don't get beside yourself on social media and start responding to the foolishness because they're right. They're right. And we practicing tomorrow. God bless. Have a wonderful night.
He sounds right there like he wants to hold them accountable, that they need to be held accountable, that they have to understand that people are the guild is off the lily, as they say. They're going to be coming for them. No more this stuff. This stuff doesn't make any sense. You're 4-3. You got beat. They scored 46 points on you in the second half after being up 29-0. That just doesn't happen to good teams. Never mind great teams. It never happens with great teams, but it doesn't happen with good teams. You don't get out to a 29-0 lead and give up 46 points in the second half. Actually, it did happen one time. I remember back in the days of Anthony Davis at Notre Dame. Notre Dame went into the locker room. I think they were ahead 24-6 and ended up getting beat 55-24. That's the last time I can remember that kind of beatdown ever happening where the game completely flipped. But they didn't have this kind of, I just have to say, disrespect for the game that these kids at Colorado had. And I don't want to just paint with a wide brush. I understand it's only a few, but Shedeur Sanders is a top-level talent. And he basically being the captain of the team, you can't let this happen. And if it's true that he was selling merchandise during halftime, Deion should sit him. He should absolutely sit him down. That would deserve punishment. I doubt it's true. I think somebody posted something, somebody who was working on his social media went ahead and posted something. But if he did it, and if he was involved during a halftime doing that, he needs to sit. At this point, this team needs a hard spanking. And Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe weren't afraid to give it. Let's take a listen to what they said and break it down.
Absolute disgrace. Unacceptable. The fact of the matter is Colorado came into this game 13-point favorites, okay, and got outscored by a 13-point underdog, 46-14 in the second half after being up 29-0. They're now 1-3 in the Pac-12. Their defense has allowed the second most yards per game at 473.7, Shannon, and the
473 yards per game. The defense is giving up almost 500 yards per game. That is totally unacceptable.
Seventh the most points per game at 35.9 and
35.9 points per game. Okay, so this team is giving up 500 yards per game and 36 points per game, and they're expecting that people think they're a good team. That's not at all acceptable, especially given the tutelage that you're having. I understand Deion Sanders has said many times he's short a few dogs, but that's basically an entire dog pound. He needs a litter.
all of the entire FBS. I believe that Deion Sanders is a coach. I think he's a hell of a coach. He needs some dogs, as he told us. He's about 7 or 8 dogs away, but here's the problem. The players got caught up in the shine.
He's absolutely right. I know everyone will deny it. The players will say they weren't, but you don't let a game slip away like that, and you don't get 17 penalties in a game. You lost focus. You have somebody on the ropes. I would have thought you would have come out of the tunnel in the second half and just basically stomped them into submission. But no, you let this team basically get back in the game.
Their coach generated, and I'm calling out his son, Shannon Sanders, who I love and I think has star written all over him. But whether it was you or by accident, it was somebody on your social media team, you cannot have something being posted at halftime.
You just can't. I don't know what he was thinking. Let's hope. Let's just hope it wasn't Shedeur. But if it was Shedeur, like I said, I think Deion needs to sit him. I know they've got a bye this week, but possibly sit him if he was out there posting stuff on Instagram or wherever during halftime of a football game.
Of a damn game. Tom Brady and your dad already joked with you about what you were driving around with and how you needed to be in the film room. Well, guess what?
So you know what they're saying? You know what Stephen A. Smith is saying? He doesn't say the words, but you might as well go ahead and put the subtitles here. He's saying that Shedeur Sanders is spoiled because you're Deion Sanders' son, because you've got all this NIL money, that you really haven't won anything at this level yet, but you're driving around in luxury automobiles and $70,000 watches when you really haven't, what's a lack of a better word, earned it at this point? How about showing it on the field? Yeah, you're fantastic. But at this point, you got to be a little bit more cognizant of your image.
What? It is no longer a laughing matter. Y'all are getting your ass kicked. Show up, stand up, because your daddy, and to the players on that squad, your coach is as much bravado as he had, as much swag as he had. He was the best on the planet.
No doubt. No doubt. The reason why primetime could be primetime, because primetime backed it up. Point blank, right there. He backed it up. Did he lose some games? Absolutely. Did he get burned sometimes? Jerry Rice? Yeah, absolutely. But 9 times out of 10, if Coach Prime, back then prime time, Deion Sanders was on the field, he was going to shut you down. You weren't just going to be able to do whatever you wanted. He was the original shutdown corner. Basically took that entire side of the field away from teams. He backed up his swagger. It's hard to fault him when he absolutely backed up everything that he did.
Week in and week out, you knew primetime Deion Sanders was the best probably ever. Y'all ain't on that level. Right. Stop acting like it and show up on the damn field and do what the hell you supposed to do instead of getting your ass kicked on national television.
Wow. Stephen A. went hard, and it was absolutely deserved. Basically speaking to them like an uncle. He loves Shedeur Sanders. I think we all, just most of us who are Buffalo fans, love the fact that this kid can play at that level. But it's time for some tough love. And that tough love spoken to him by Stephen A. Smith, just like an uncle would, and saying, it's time to stand up and put out. I don't care if you win the rest of the games of the year or you lose the rest of the games in the year. You as an individual, as the captain, need to stand up and stand out.
Somebody got to say it. Go ahead, Shannon.
They lost this game because they're an undisciplined football team.
Period. They lost this game because they're undisciplined. Everybody who's ever strapped on a helmet can see that these guys, there's something wrong. These unforced errors are just totally unacceptable.
17 penalties for 129 yards. 4 times they got caught with too many men on the field. 17 penalties. At what point in time, because I heard Coach Prime game after game, we got to stop the penalties. We got to stop the penalties. We got to stop the penalties. And this is an undisciplined football team. And at some point in time, you guys are going to have to realize, you know what? We got to clean our act up. We're not good enough to overcome the mistakes that we keep committing.
And I'm sick.
And that, to me, is the most important thing that these kids have to realize. They have to be able to look into the mirror, get up in the morning, take your shower, and look up in the mirror and go, you're not that good. You're just not that good where you can play this way. That is a really tough pill to swallow when you look at yourself in the mirror and have to realize, I'm just not good enough right now. I'm not playing good enough. You got to change it.
I'm tired of people looking at Prime Time and acting like he was all flash and that he just lived off his talent. He was incredibly disciplined.
Yes.
He was incredibly committed. He was incredibly focused. I'm seeing a bunch of dudes that are playing for him. They getting caught up in the shine, and they got caught up in all the notoriety that came their way, especially the son who we both love.
Yes.
But come on now, you got to show up week in and week out and exercise that level of discipline. And you can't have stories out there about how you posted something at halftime for your merch on social media. At halftime?
That's so true. Whether it's true or not, you can't even give people that illusion. You need to tell your social media team, if it wasn't you, do not post during games. Just do it. Don't care. Do not put anything up with my name on it during a game. You have to be a leader. You have to be the leader on this team and tell these guys, get in the locker room, grab Travis Hunter and say, guys, this is it. We're done. We're not going to play like this anymore. You got to bring it every single game. No games off. Definitely no halves off. You just can't take off in a half of a game. Hey, it's 29-0. We got this. We're good. Let's go ahead. Let's sell something. No, man. Other teams are looking to feast on you. Other teams are looking for that energy. If you notice, there were kids from Stanford, just like it with Oregon. They were doing it right back at you. They don't care. They want your blood. They want to come after you. They smelled blood in the water in the second half, and they just kept coming. Watching that Stanford game reminds me a lot when I watch Army and Navy play other teams. You can be beating them. You can be absolutely way ahead. They're not going to stop. They're going to keep coming. They're going to keep coming all day long. And I'm glad they do. They're our armed forces. Those are the guys we want to keep fighting. You guys at Colorado, all of you on the Colorado football team need to get some of that Army-Navy fire inside your bellies. You need to find out what it takes to finish a game, to be disciplined, to understand that you can't act the way you've been doing. And now it's up to Deion Sanders, in my mind, to step in, like he said, don't want to hear it. And we're hitting the field tomorrow to go practice. I love that he said that. Let me know what you guys think about the complete embarrassment the Colorado football team went through and what they need to do to fix this season. Fans aren't going anywhere. We're here to stay. We want to see you guys win. We want to see this team succeed. I saw that UCLA sold 66,000 tickets for their homecoming game with Colorado. 66,000. The fans are still coming. We still want to see you perform. We just don't want to see you undisciplined and not having the fire it takes to actually win games and play all 60 minutes. Can you do that? Can you look yourselves in the mirror, dust off, and say, I wasn't that good. I need to do better. I need to improve. I need to learn from this experience. Can you guys do that? If you do that, that side of the game is going to take care of itself. I don't think anybody would be giving any player on Colorado any problem for losing the game. Wins and losses are part of playing football. It was the way you lost. You basically gave up. You let an inferior opponent snatch a victory out of your hands in grand fashion. 46 points in the second half. Every single one of you need to look in the mirror and go, what did I do in the first half that I didn't do in the second half? And how do I make sure that never happens again? And Coach Prime, I know he's going to put a foot up your ass because he has to. You embarrassed him as well. You embarrassed him as a coach. You embarrassed him as a man. And you know what? He knows it. Check out what he said right here in his tweet. He answers Stephen A. and Shannon Sharpe and said, "You're 100% right. You guys are all right. This team was an embarrassment. This team is an utter disgrace. Now it's up to him to fix it. And I know he will. I know he's going to do his best. I just need to see these players respond and do their best." Let me know what you guys think. There's a bye week this week. Plenty of time to get the ship in order. Talk to you soon.